For Jamil Dunes hole 3, we are going to be playing to the right side. You're going to use 4 right spin with 3 top spin in a tailwind and about 4 to 5 top spin in a headwind, and you will have to use overpower in a headwind. You are going to adjust your shot at max distance with a plus 10% over adjustment and then give it just a little bit of baby curl to the right. This was a shot taken before the tournament, before we knew any yardages and slider percentages, so this was a complete guess. I was just trying to find the funnel. The reason the great left went in was because the slider wasn't correct, but the elevation was correct, and the positioning of the ball, the positioning of the target wasn't correct either. So what we have found out since the tournament is that we want the red ring touching the rough on the left, down near the curvature of the rough line. So there you would play at a minus 10% with a crosswind, a 0% with a headwind, and a tailwind you're going to be playing it at minus 5%. Yardages and slider percentages will be at the end of this video. So again, with our drive, we are playing at a plus 10% over adjustment. You're going to use 4 right spin with 3 top spin to get you a consistent drive. This can be done with any driver. If you're using a Thor's hammer, maybe do about 3.5 top spin. You're going to over adjust your shot with a plus 10% adjustment and then do a little baby curl to the right. We are looking for a consistent drive of around 350. From there, we know the slider percentage, and it will work in crosswind, headwind, and tailwind. Here, I did mess up a little bit, and I didn't have my target touching the red on the rough to the left, but it still went in because I did find the funnel. My slider was still correct in that instance, and I just used more spin than I needed to, basically. So again, it plays at a minus 10%. I did play this at minus 10%, but a stronger tailwind, I would suggest playing it at minus 5% to account for the wind push, pushing your ball straight. So a straighter tailwind, I would suggest doing a minus 5%. Again, with our drive, you're going to be using 3 top spin with 4 right spin. If you have a Thor's hammer that you're playing with, I would do 3.5 to 4 top and seeing if that gives you a consistent drive of 350. We then adjust our shot with a plus 10% over adjustment and a little bit of baby curl to the right. At yardage 346, we know our sniper plays at 46%. So at 46%, I put my red ring near the rough to the left, down by the curvature of the rough line. I spun my ball to the hole to catch the funnel, and I used about 3 bars of top spin instead of your average 2.1 bars of top spin to account for the wind push of a headwind. So in a headwind, you want to do about 3 to 3.5 to 4, depending on the strength of the headwind. The slider percentages still work, but your elevation is going to be different. In a headwind, it's going to play at 0% elevation. It's very rare that I get a headwind on the drive. I don't know why, if I'm just missing it or what, but if you do get a headwind on your drive, you will have to use overpower, and I would do about 4 bars of topspin to account for that wind push. But you're still going to do an over adjustment of 10%. So here we did 3 bars of top, 4 bars of right with a plus 10% over adjustment of our shot. At 346, we know our percentage was 46% slider. So at 342, you're going to basically add 2.5% per yard for that adjustment, and I came up with 56% slider. So I played this at 56% slider with a 0% elevation. What I did wrong here was I was way too far down on my target. So I should have been up a little bit more, touching the left, because the ball guide wasn't hooking correctly. This is why a great left went in. I wasn't positioned correctly on the second shot. So you want to be up a little bit further where I was, with your red ring touching the rough on the left. So you don't want to be on the curvature of the rough line, you just want to be above the curvature of the rough line. One last time for the drive, you are going to be using 4 right spin with 3 top spin. Thor's hammer, I would use 3.5 to 4 top spin. You need to figure out the top spin for that driver to figure out where you get a consistent drive at. So again, we're going to over adjust our shot with a plus 10% over adjustment, and then a little bit of baby curl to the right. At 349, we know our slider percentage is 40%. So our red ring is going to be touching the rough, and we're going to spin our ball to the hole with usually 5 to 6 bars of left spin and about 2.1 to 2 top spin, depending. It all depends. So your spin will vary on this hole, but you do want to get the hook of that ball guide going to the hole. You're then going to adjust your shot with a minus 10% elevation with a cross wind. With a headwind, it'll be 0%. And with a tailwind, I believe it should be played at minus 5%. But you can play around with minus 10% too and see how it works for you. And remember guys, hit perfect. Happy golfing.